Hello everyone, welcome to the Quilt Show. Today, multifaceted fiber artist Libby Williamson returns and we're going to peel back the layers of her artistry, just like an onion. Stick around. And now, your hosts for the Quilt Show, Alex Anderson and Ricky Timms.
The Quilt Show is coming to you today on location from Lake Travis near Austin, Texas. Welcome to the Quilt Show, everyone. You know, quilting is like an onion. There are layers and you can get deep and you can also stay on the surface. Well, our guest today is going to take us through many layers of quilting. Please welcome to the Quilt Show, Libby Williamson. So good to have you here.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks for having me back. It's a treat for me.
I just
Such a treat.
I have to say this. I take classes. If you ever have the opportunity to take from this woman, it is Libby Williamson. And what I love about today, I like that whole onion thing, because you really are an artist and you draw people in and teach them how to dig deep, deep, deep. But you can start up here if you want, right?
Yeah, we start lighthearted, whimsical.
Yeah.
And then we can dig as deep as people want to dig.
Very nice.
It can be really scary in there.
Well, this is not your first appearance on the Quilt Show.
Right.
And when you were with us previously, you were doing things with tea bags. And you're still doing that a little bit, right?
I still use them. Yes, I love those little substrates.
Let's take a look at some of the quilts that explain this, because this is a little bit different than we saw previously.
This is casting calls. And I did show a quilt here last time I was on using those exact tea bag squares. And those were the remnants, or sometimes we call them orphan blocks.
Yeah.
And so I had all the leftover pieces, and the title here, Casting Calls, is sort of there's a play on words. Those tea bags were auditioning for a new piece in a play, for instance. And also that piece is designed to hang away from the wall. It's layered, the tea bags are layered between sheer tulle and cheesecloth, and if it's hung away from the wall, there's a cast shadow that shows up the squares.
And I want to point out that that show is certainly worth watching. It's 2311. You know, yeah. And when you say tea bags, you go, and you go, whoa, when you see it, you know.
Well, and this quilt, it has a lot of tradition in it, but it also has your tea bags. Talk about this one.
This is called Listen to the Leaves, and it was for an invitational exhibit. And it's about Mary Oliver, the poet Mary Oliver. That was my inspiration for it. It uses tea bags, but I also explore a lot more different techniques. Very heavily embroidered. The French knots by the bushel. I will put hundreds and hundreds of French knots in my work. And there are a lot of different techniques in here, but
it's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
You know what's so great, Ricky, and I know you would agree 100% with this, is you can look at something, well, if there's tea bags, we know who did it, but it's like you can't say, oh, that's that. It's you're so surprising. So let's talk about this next one, which I love.
Okay, well, wait. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're talking about the layers and how that you can start whimsical and you can get deep. This is a way, I believe, this is my impression, that you can actually have your alter ego become a voice for you. So talk about this quilt.
This is Lillian. Meet Lillian. This is her debut on the Quilt Show. She's one of my classes. I did start with a few other pieces, but I have developed Lillian into a really fun class called Wonky Sisters.
Oh, yes.
She was one of our original Wonky Sisters, and there are probably 150 or almost 200 Wonky Sisters in the Wonky Sisters Club out in the world. It's all about creating an art piece that does not have to be spot on, anatomically correct. It's all about adding the wrinkles and the side,
the quirks,
all the quirks.
Well, she looks like she has an attitude.
She is a real spunky girl. She has been in a lot of compromising positions. She's been in a police car in Central Park with the lights on and the sirens.
Oh my gosh.
She's been in the cockpit of Southwest Airlines. She's been at a picnic with seagulls on the coast of the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, she gets around and she's sassy.
I have no doubt that she is sassy.
So we'll get into her a little bit later.
Okay, great. So what's going on with these rope quilts? This is very different, Libby.
I love a challenge, first of all. And I'm very drawn, and you can probably tell from my work, very unconventional. I did learn how to make perfect quilts, but I quickly went to the rebel
Rear
side.
view mirror.
So I was intrigued by clothesline rope instead of batting and using that as my center layer or the middle layer to technically make quilts. And so I've been exploring that, and we'll see a lot of those quilts later. I really like the texture that I can get, and I like the challenge of engineering something that is so different.
Well, a little bit different.
Well, it's
absolutely.
complete from scratch. I
But
mean, this is, yeah.
You're still using your voice, so the message.
This is breaking the mold, specifically about my daughter and raising strong women. There's a lot of reflection of my own mom and my grandmother and all the kind of stuff and the muck about raising generations of strong women. So
We were
That's
just talking about that
yeah.
at breakfast. Okay, oh, look at this. Tell us about this
this is
piece.
Dance of the Wallflowers. One of those is me. I don't know quite which one. And this is about 3 girls at a junior high dance at the cafeteria, the smelly gym cafeteria.
Milk.
And the girls are all lined up against one side and the boys are all lined up on the other side. And these 3 girls are at the punch bowl, very nervous and waiting for their chance to dance. So there's a little more to that story, but that's
the gist of it.
yeah.
Well, first of all,
I-
I love
I-
the journey that you're on. And we've got a quilt in front of us that really is kind of a piece de resistance for you at this moment. So let's talk about this quilt, because this truly, this
That's
breaks all the molds
amazing.
that you've done before. So talk about this one.
This is more typical of what I'm doing now. It's still involving tea bags, as you can see. This particular piece was made with, it took about 6 months. It may not quite be finished, but I studied with Jane Dunewald in the Art Cloth Mastery class and just finished up a 2+ year program with Jane, which was phenomenal. And this was my thesis, basically.
Okay.
And this is all about an archaeological dig, the way that it would be set up in the wild with grids cordoned off.
The lettering going one way,
See, I
and
did
then
not know
numbers
that.
going
Yeah.
the opposite.
So we might see D5,
Right,
and then
sure.
there might be some information in D5 quadrant that would be interesting to check out or make notes about.
And this is a self-portrait.
This is a self-portrait.
Explain.
It's about digging into my own personality, trying to figure out who I am, and there's some scary stuff in here. Some of these tea bags, these are all these squares are actual tea bags. Some of them might have not yet been explored underneath. Some may have been peeked at and covered over. And then there are plenty that are kind of interesting to look at. There's some pieces and little bits and parts of me that are showing. And there's the center portion here is representing what might be a magnifying glass. And that is that's an enlargement.
Wait,
perhaps.
is that attached to this?
It does hang freely. It's
Okay.
a separate piece that hangs. And this piece is meant to hang on the wall.
Okay.
And that can dangle, but it's meant to be in that position. So that might be a much more close up look at part of me.
So when you're working on something like this that is just a treasure trove of you, how do you know when it's finished? Because you're not finished.
I don't think this piece is finished. It's getting closer, or the next piece will dig deeper.
Right, that's the layers, right? And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to really explore some of this, and talking about those layers, you're going to start at the very beginning here. When we get to our next demo, we're going to do something easy and whimsical, right? That's where they should start, jumping off spot.
That's right. Yeah.
Playtime.
When I teach very whimsical, lighthearted things. And then my personal art is a lot deeper, and it's in a different direction.
All right, well, we're going to stay whimsical and lighthearted when we get back. Welcome back, everyone. You know, I often say that when you reorganize your quilting studio, it's like an archaeological dig, because you find things that you forgot you have. In our show today, we are going to dig down into layers, but we got to start on the top layer, right?
That's right.
Something that's easy and doable, and this is the project. I love this. Let's talk about it.
Sure. These are the art panels that I have created. They're original art of mine that I have had printed on fabric, and I sell these as individual panels or in kits with thread and needles. And They're really made so that there's a flexible way and not any specific way to work on them.
Right, and this would be a fun wall quilt. It could be, I mean, you could use them for placemats, you could use them for wall decoration. There's so many ways to use these fun panels, and they're beautiful, whimsical, and cheerful. I love these.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to design something that anybody at any level could do. If you love free motion and you're adept at it, you can do that. If you just want to do straight stitch, you can do that, or just hand stitch.
Or embroidery.
Embroidery.
You can do that as well.
They're really versatile.
So this is kind of where we're headed, but let's talk about the process of how we got there,
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to set this one out of the way for now, and let's talk about these, because this looks like as much fun as making a quilt.
This is a lot of fun. These are technically collages, and what normally I'll do is hand paint fabrics or paper. So you can see some music note paper.
Oh,
and
I see. Right. So this really was paper. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was fabric, and now
So it's mixed here. You can
Okay.
see some of this is fabric and some is hand painted paper, but I do like to make my mark on everything first. So if I have a commercial piece of fabric, I'll add more color to it, or I will add color to papers. And then I have just this big stash of raw supplies.
Right. So that becomes your fabric, whether it's paper or fabric.
Yeah. And then I'll start cutting and creating these collages.
All right. That's fun with the camper, and this one.
This is
with
Blue
the
Dog that we just saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the blue dog.
And
That
so you
is
can see
much
there's
fun.
so much to do on that. You can do a lot of embellishment or just a little bit.
And don't be afraid to overlap, because you've got several
Yeah.
things here where you're creating the layers to create the whimsy and the flow of it all. Okay, all you cat lovers out there, this
Cat
is for
lovers
you.
staring at the little butterfly.
That is so funny. I love that. I love how this points to the sun. I mean, that's just simple design, but the bottom line is, and what's the background on these?
This is actually Home Depot drop cloth that I
Oh,
love to
wow.
use. I paint it
You
first.
paint it first.
Yeah, just a real kind of a mottled look.
Are you
usually.
painting with brushes or hand or
Yes,
rags?
and yes,
or-
and yes, everything.
All
I
right.
try and start, I'll start with brushes, but usually I'm in it with hands and everything else too.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that even sounds like the most wonderful project to do with your kids or grandkids or something like that. That really seems like a fun project, and that in itself could be a finished thing. But how does one go from making these guys and turning them into real, fabrics that we can use in a project like this?
Right. So what you can do is scan your artwork or even take a good quality photograph with a
That's
camera.
a smartphone.
A smartphone.
Yeah.
And upload it into one of the, any of the print-on-demand companies.
And
Spoonflower.
Spoonflower being one of
Spoonflower is
them.
one, and there are other options.
And here is one design that's been repeated over and over, and this was done on Spoonflower.
This is Spoonflower fabric, and I had intended to do as many of the blue dogs as I could on this yardage, but if you had your own set of maybe 4 images that you create, original artwork, you could scan them all, and Spoonflower is really easy to use. You can upload your images and arrange them and have them printed out on a fat quarter.
That's fabulous. Or they could do a full yard, and as I understand it, you can resize.
Yeah,
You
there's
can
all sorts of
resize.
tricks.
So
Yeah.
if you wanted your collage printed a little bigger than the one you made, or if you wanted it a little bit smaller, that
Yep.
works out very well. So listen, that is a wonderful tool that quilters have today that we did not have
No, we didn't.
several years
Yeah.
ago. All right, so now let's have some fun with the fabric. So
Should we
this
play?
one's been printed, right?
Yep, this is
All right.
one little panel that's been cut out, and one approach might be to do free motion stitching on it.
All right.
So I've simply layered it onto
Is that a felt?
It's craft felt. It's
Okay.
nothing fancy. You could put batting under it or just another layer of fabric, but something that will stabilize it as you work.
If you wanted it to be fully sandwiched at this stage, could you have your backing and batting in top? Is that
You
possible?
could, if you are pretty confident that the back is going to be what you like.
Okay.
I'm a pretty messy stitcher, so usually I create something and then put false backs on it. But
Okay,
absolutely,
okay.
you can make a sandwich.
And that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair way to think it, because again, we are such a diverse, creative community, and I think it's important for you to be able to have the freedom to do what you want to do.
Yeah. We all have different skill sets. So
Absolutely.
we all, okay, so I'm going to show you my, I'm not going to even plan. Usually I just
Okay.
start stitching and see what happens.
Now you go ahead and start stitching, and
All right.
I'm going to say while you're stitching,
Okay.
I'm going to say, you're stitching, okay, you're going there, and I'm watching you and I'm going, oh yeah, but you're really good at this, and I'm not a good free motion person. I'm not even comfortable with this.
Okay, well
This
look
is still for the
Yeah.
people, right?
yeah, see
I can't stay on the lines.
so I do it again. I might go over and over if I aim incorrectly and it's,
I'm gonna get in here and give some perspective from where we are on what this
see, I might
looks
go
like.
over and over lines.
Oh yeah, you went away from the little leaf. Now tell me why you're using black.
Black is a great contrast color.
Yeah.
You could certainly match your thread. You can use anything you want. I just love the line in black because it really shows up. Let's do some doodling
Okay,
here on
yeah, I
this.
want to see that.
All right, we'll do a little, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We're a little bouncy, but that's all right.
That's, you know, when you're on location and you got the temporary tables, they can be a little bouncy.
That's all right, it adds to the fun.
Can you do some fringe?
Let's do that. Let's do something like this.
Oh, look at that.
And again, I don't plan ahead. That's kind of the fun of it, just to see what happens.
Oh, I love that. So, wow. So let's just take a look at what that is. That is really beautiful. And you just continue to do this throughout. And I'm looking at the other places that
Yeah.
you've already got stitched on there. And that adds dimension. So is that done? You're done with it when you're done the
It
black
might be.
stitching?
I usually do hand stitching. I'm just coming back to all that hand embroidery. So I can never not put some of my own hand stitching into a project.
So
I
here-
combine,
Okay,
yeah.
so here's a piece. Now this is all done by hand, right? There's no machine work on this at all.
So if somebody doesn't want to do any machine work, a little bit of hand embroidery.
And look
Very
at this.
simple stitches.
And even it's quilted, or what it looks to be quilted.
It is quilted.
Yeah.
Technically it's quilted.
Okay.
And the stitching does go through the back, and there's a batting in here. So technically it's a quilt, but it doesn't even have to be. It could be a couple of layers.
This one and so many of your other panels that you've designed are available in kits, right?
I do. I
And
sell them as kits.
This was crazy. She said you get the needles, you get the
Yeah.
floss, the yarns, whatever it is for these kits.
Yeah, and usually you get 2 different images in a kit with an assortment of Wonderfill thread, which I love, a package of needles, and some inspirational
Where would
thoughts
somebody watching find those?
on my website.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of these because I want everybody to find some inspiration. Let's just start here and point out some of your most
So
favorite
here's the
parts.
panel. I ended up adding a border. Certainly you could add a border, and there's loads of hand stitching in here after I did the free motion
see the
work
French
in black.
knots.
Loads of French knots.
Flowers
Yep.
and so forth. I love that cat, and this one too. We're back to the one looking at the butterfly, and look how that's been finished.
And again, raw edge. I don't do a lot of piecing, so
Look-
I don't have to piece things. Yeah, you
I-
can flip
that-
up the edges.
I think that's
fine
important.
with me.
Of course, we as quilters tend to do that, but again, find your voice, find your flexibility, and this becomes an art piece that's it's still exciting to see, whether it's pieced or whether it's just laying down. I think that's really, really good.
Thanks.
And the whiskers got added with the.
Yeah,
So
do
I'm
it-
getting to explore these for the first time, and I'm getting to see the layers,
All the detail. Yeah.
exposing right there as we dig into them a little bit. I'm going to show all 3 of these at the same time. Can I do that?
Yeah, so we can look at how the same image might be treated differently. There are 3 different
All right,
options.
so let's start here.
Again, only handwork. So this is a very small little art piece, a wall piece. And
Oh,
there's
look
just
at
a little
that.
bit of
Yeah.
add whatever. Here's a little bit of fringe
Okay.
on the tail, but there's only hand embroidery in that, and very simple stitches.
Yeah, and it's a small little piece.
Mm-hmm.
And now this one is larger, so was it enlarged, I guess?
It could be enlarged in the spoonflower, or
spoon
whatever.
flower,
Yeah,
okay.
in the app.
And you put a border on this
Yeah,
one, and you
so
did
this
raw
one-
edge leaves.
Yeah, these were just additional fabrics that I had in my stash to create that, adding a lot of hand stitching, machine work, and
You
again,
got some little toes on there.
gotta have toes.
Yeah, I love the little toes, and I
Yeah.
like how you added the hand stitching in here.
And you can see the original artwork, so you'll be able to see some of the text from the printed papers.
Oh, that's fun.
This is a piece
Oh.
of, I believe that's dictionary paper, or it might be a phone book that I use. But that's
That's
kind of the fun
fun.
of it, just to see all the different original pieces of work that were
And
used.
let's go to this one,
Yeah.
because look at this, everybody. Surprise, surprise. A book cover.
Yep.
Yeah. I love
It's
that.
another fun way to do it.
I
So
love that.
the point is that there's so many, many ways that you can use these panels.
Pieced. I see piecing.
I did piecing. Usually I don't, but I did a little bit of strip piecing. I think that's called strip piecing.
Yep.
And I wanted it to be, again, kind of odd and wonky.
Well,
I don't want matching seams.
I love this. These were straight bars that you turned into sort of organic vegetation back there. And I think that's so hard for the typical person to think, oh, I need to now stitch these straight bars. No.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Take a left turn.
And look.
Here's a tote bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. And pillow.
Make it into a pillow, certainly.
I love
this is,
all of
again,
this.
we're looking at something that's only done by hand, only embroidery on this particular piece, but the border was machine pieced.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. And there you go with some buttons on the back. That looks great. And this one's larger now. We've seen a lot of small pieces, but it doesn't have to be. You could do baby quilts, you could do throw quilts, you can do larger wall quilts like this one.
Yeah, so this one incorporates 4 different panels, and then I don't think there's any piecing in this. It's just taking strips of my hand-painted fabrics, raw edge, and layering lots of different kind of graphic line, layering, and then adding hand embroidery to put it all together.
I love it. And here's the 3 panels we started with. We picked 3 good ones at the beginning, didn't we?
They're my favorites.
Oh, that's fun. That is such a fun project.
Wall art or pillows or you name it.
All right,
Very versatile.
Remind us where we're going to find you.
My website, Libby Williamson Designs
Okay.
at gmail.com is
That's
my
email.
and libbywilliamson.com.
Is the website.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, when we come back, you showed Alex your Wonky sisters, right?
Yeah.
And Alex loved it so much that she was the one responsible for begging Libby to be back on the show. And that's what we're going to do next. And you're going to have a lot of fun because I know you are going to want to make your own Wonky sister. On the next Quilt Show, with a little bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, we're showcasing a magical and fearless use of color.
Meet Linda Sullivan from Colorworks, who is on a quest to make quilting the happiest activity on earth.
You don't have to have an art background to do this. You don't have to do perfect 1/4-inch piecing to do this. You don't need a wedge template to do this. Any of that stuff. You just need a sharp rotary cutter and a rotary ruler and whatever you've got in your stash.
You'll learn all about wonky piecing and some easy machine applique.
Plus, Linda uses happy decorative stitches to add embellishments and texturizations. She'll show you how.
Join us for a lively, very mod, very color-filled show.
Yep, that's at thequiltshow.com. Okay, everyone, it's time for the next layer on the onion. First segment, you kind of, it's your artwork,
Yeah.
but then have at it. But now it's on you, and we're gonna do faces.
We're gonna make Wonky sisters.
Yeah, so let's take a look at these so people
All
know
right.
what we're talking about.
Well, I started out making these, I think they're second cousins or something.
Okay.
The 3 women. And these are they might look complex, but they're fairly simple. Mm-hmm. And as we progress through, you'll see how I've taken this whole concept even deeper and making more and more layers.
What's her name?
This is Gwen.
Okay, this is Gwen, but who's that?
Gwen and, I'm sorry, Lois.
I thought they're your children.
No, this is Carmen.
Okay, bring Carmen
I know
over.
Carmen.
But I want everybody to look at the wonkiness in as much as the noses, how different they are. Like this is a rectangle, this is a triangle, you know.
Very much offsetting eyes. And we are absolutely not looking at rules, anatomically correct facial rules.
So you're not gonna go make your kid in this unless it's a joyful aspect of your kid and, you know, gum in the hair or something like that,
That
right?
would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really am after the most asymmetrical look and just break all the rules.
Yeah, I
And
just
have
loved
fun.
it. I want to show everybody what I started in your class. It was Napa, right?
Yeah.
It was online Napa, and I'm not
I
finished
love
yet.
this. I know, she's great.
Yeah, she's Samantha. She's my daughter's bestie, and Samantha, they play together. She bakes, and there's a Vespa.
And so what's fun about this, when I work, and what I've provided in the kits are hand-painted fabrics, but you've gone ahead and fussy cut out some lots of fun little little icons and things that are important to your story.
Okay, so
you've
you'll
got
help
that
me
in.
finish this then?
Yeah, we will.
Okay,
We'll
cool.
get it going.
Let me get this out of here then. All right, so
How do
do
we
you
start? I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, I know. Let's start by just the basic shape of a head.
Okay.
All right. You can literally cut out an oval.
Okay, go ahead, bring it over.
You could do it folded so that it's symmetrical, or you could make a very wonky, angular kind of face. This could be the top, that could be the top. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just need a place to start.
Okay.
And then when we talk about necks, the necks are fun too. It could be a long neck with maybe some shoulders. But what happens when we
If you
tip
cock it. Yeah.
The cocked heads are really fun.
They're cute,
They
yeah.
just give more attitude. So I just play with, big fat necks, a pointy chin, anything goes. And it really isn't that important because most of it's going to be covered up anyway.
Well, one of the things in your class that I did wrong is I started too small of a head. So
Oh.
I had to redo it. Is there any sort of ratio like that?
No rules.
Okay, I love it.
No rules,
Playtime.
just play.
Okay,
Yeah. So the point is really, you just start with a blob of color.
Okay, and let's get these back to look at because then we can
Yeah.
look at some of these faces, the shapes on them, right?
Yeah, we'll break down some of these shapes.
All right.
And, well, you already started looking
No,
at this
but I
nose.
want to look at the head
Okay,
shape.
yeah,
you
and
know?
that really is. Yeah, that head shape, very angular. It was probably, who knows what's behind the hair up here, and
Right,
it doesn't
right,
matter.
right.
Because it's going to be covered later. But I've just got really straight lines. The angles come in and they're asymmetrical on purpose.
Okay. And
And then
then,
we'll look at this one. Pretty much the same. I think these, when I made the three of them, they pretty much have a similar face shape. Big blockhead though, right? Big blockhead and a little bit of a round there and gigantic neck. Look at
Okay.
that neck. And when we look at Carmen, she's got this skinny little neck, but very, very pointy chin.
Okay.
So the point is, it really doesn't matter.
Cool.
Just start with something
okay.
and change it as you go.
All right. So then what?
Well, let's start with this, and we're going to just play kind of color forms, or Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head.
But before we get there, I think we need to look at this too. That was my bad that I got them out of order. Okay.
That's okay. So here, this actually is a tracing. Let's pull one of them up here.
Let's pull this one up.
So I think this is Carmen. What I did to break down, this looks complex,
Yes.
but what I did is just took, and this isn't necessary, but what I wanted to do and show you how this breaks down into very, very simple shapes. This eyebrow, it's kind of a unibrow. Who knows even what it is? I don't know what it is. But it was a cool piece of fabric, and it was just a strip of rectangle. A strip of a nose rectangle, a little
So make it
button.
as crazy as you can live with, right?
Yeah.
Should I pull another one just to put this on
Sure.
top? Okay.
Let's look at this one, and I don't know. I think this is
I think it's that guy.
okay.
I
You're right.
think.
Yes, you're right. Again, an eyebrow is just a rectangle. Eyelids are these just crescent moves. Maybe it's the under of the eye.
And even the
Look
lips,
at the nose here. It's a rectangle and a little very odd triangle.
and then half a heart.
It looks like a cupcake.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
But
Perfect.
it is just whatever you want. And keep cutting fabric and layering. It doesn't have to be one full shape. You know, a lip could be made with lots and lots of little pieces.
Okay, so get these guys out of the way.
Yeah.
And you've pre-made a couple faces and necks for us.
Yeah, I got a head start.
Okay.
Got
Oh,
the-
yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, you can pick the green or the
Well, here.
peachy gold.
Right here. We're good.
All right, we're going to stay here. Notice, though, that I've added a lot of little additional pieces of fabric, little crescents, maybe some shading. You've got a little darker tones over here and some cheekbones.
Now, are these fused down?
These are not, and we'll talk about that later. how
Okay.
I do that. But basically, what I've done is glued them ahead of time for
All right.
us.
I knew that.
You got just a plain old neck,
But
and I've got.
And oh, I'm sorry. And the beauty of gluing it down is you don't have to spend all that time fusing.
I don't fuse any of it.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
no way I could fuse all these little bitties.
Okay, back to the necks. I'm sorry.
That's right. Look at how fancy my neck is compared to yours, and they both work beautifully.
Okay.
A lot of little crescent shapes and lots of shading, or just a plain old straight neck, maybe a little side piece.
Is this like cheeks or something?
I think that could be a cheekbone.
Okay.
But it might be covered up, so we don't even know what it's going to be. I think
Okay.
this might be a start of a cheekbone. You can also see the circle was really literally two half circles. I used two different tones of fabric. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be. It could just be a circle out of one tone.
Okay, and what are we doing this on again?
Home Depot drop cloth.
Oh, okay.
My favorite. It's great canvas.
Right, right.
Yep.
All right, so now what do we do?
Now we're going to play.
Okay, good.
So we, just for today, normally what we do is we get fabric that we have to cut our own shapes from, but for
You're
this,
prepared.
here
Teacher's
we go.
prepared.
Da, 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 da. Now we've
Yeah.
got noses. So
Okay.
I've got lots of different little facial features. They can be, just grab stuff and start playing. We can do any kind of a nose. Your nose could be crooked. You could certainly.
So look what I did. Right down the middle.
That's good.
No.
It's okay.
I gotta play.
Well, once we get the eyes and the lips, then they'll probably get shuffled around anyway.
Okay.
That's good.
All right.
So,
Oh.
powerful women.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's some nostrils. Look at this little nostril was cut from a piece of fabric that had a little flower on it. So
Okay.
she might need a nostril.
I think
She might need a
fatter
hat.
at the bottom.
Okay.
Start angsting over this.
And we could
Ridiculous.
even, yeah. Or what if that nostril is angled, kind of
Okay.
kooky? She only gets one nostril.
Oh, okay. What about you?
I don't know. I don't think she needs anything. Maybe she does.
Okay, there
But
you go.
we don't know yet because
Oh,
we're
okay.
going to build more parts.
So we're not gluing yet. We've just glued the background.
We're just going to start. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's play with some eyeballs.
All right.
I've gone ahead and built some components.
Look at
But what we would start with, so here basically it's an oval, just a cranberry colored oval so that we can point out what it is, and then a teardrop shape built up and up.
Okay, I know you don't care, but I'm going to ask, do you care that like these are kind of coordinating or doesn't matter?
Probably in my art, I end up using some of the same fabrics
Okay.
to
Continuity?
to add continuity to the piece.
Okay.
And I think I just do that naturally.
Okay.
You know, I'm adding typically what I like.
Okay.
And most people would probably do the same. So why don't you do the eye? Why not? Why don't we play with some of these eyelids and see what happens? You could even put an eyelid across that part of the iris
Yes.
and leave this exposed. Now, anatomically, that doesn't make any sense, but it's fun.
Oh, it's totally fun.
And you could add eyelid, eyebrow. There's something here with some eyelashes.
Oh, I like eyelashes.
All right, well, let's switch it out.
Okay.
And we're working upside down, so it's kind of hard to see.
And the other thing too,
We're having fun.
I learned in your class, you don't just do this in an afternoon. You work on it and leave the room and come back and all that.
Yeah, it is not a one-day project.
Okay.
These are the, let's look at the eyes. Let's look at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
eyes
yeah.
themselves. So here are some pretty interesting parts of eyes. This fabric, if you see that looks like a little flower,
Uh-huh.
you can use commercially printed fabric that might have some kind of a pattern in it and add a little bit of splashes of acrylic paint and cut that out, and then it becomes an eye. So you
Love it,
can
love it.
use some of the textures and patterns that are already in commercial fabric.
And then you had us do sparkles in our eyes. So how did we do that? I don't remember.
You can do it lots of ways. You can take a paint pen and just add a little drop
Okay.
of paint, a finger with a little smush of paint. Usually what I'll do is create a piece of eyeball, iris, what is it? What is the pupil?
Okay.
Pupil fabric.
Twinkle.
Twinkle of eye fabric. So I could cut out these and I might arrange the little twinkle in a different spot. But
Okay. So let's do the lips now.
All right, lips.
I just watched the time and I'm like going, whoa, we gotta.
They're so much fun.
I know. I mean, you could just,
All right.
okay.
You know, her lips are off her chin. Why not? She's
Yeah.
droopy.
I don't like that one, but how about this?
And now let's look at this expression. This is where things get funny. When she has that downturned corner of her mouth, she gets kind of pensive or a little
Not happy.
not happy.
I like
But then
that
we
girl.
turn it up and she has a completely different expression.
Wow.
So it's just complete
Wow.
play.
And then earrings?
Oh yeah, earrings, of course. And mismatched earrings. They have to be mismatched.
There we go.
Well, we haven't done hair yet.
Oh,
We better
okay.
do hair. So I've gone ahead. Now, I wouldn't do hair like this in a wig. I would build the hair on the canvas the same way we're doing all the other parts. But just for fun today, I've got some wigs. Yeah. You can have the blue wig or you can have the red wig.
Well, I think the blue has to go over here.
All right, let's switch it out.
Okay. Oh, fun. Now, uh-oh. Is this a problem?
It's not because you would have been building it on the canvas anyway.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So we can do whatever we want. No
Okay.
rules.
All right, all right.
Now earrings.
Here, I'm going to put like that there.
Sure.
Okay, and that there.
Yeah.
All
Good.
right, so we build it all up, and then at what point do we do this?
This is now.
Okay.
So once you're ready, and we probably don't have hair yet, but now what we're going to do is use glue sticks.
Okay.
And you might find a part that you love. Now, one thing you can do is take your cell phone, take a click,
Yes.
and that way you can,
Yes.
if you need to remove parts, you can
Yes.
refer to that photograph
Okay.
for reference later. But if I love the lips right there, and I know in this case there are already 3 pieces that I've glued together, but you get the point.
Okay.
So here's a scrap of paper.
So
and-
I'm just going to let you do it, but we kind of have to quickly do our move on.
Just a little tack of glue is all you need.
Okay.
And then pop it back on. That's just going to hold it in place.
Okay.
And we'll do that for all the facial features.
All right.
And then we'll finish it with sewing.
So, Jean, so.
Free motion stitching.
And I'm going to get out this one because this is the part that I forgot in the class. So we have here, as I dig.
Gracie.
Yeah.
Pull out Gracie.
Yeah.
She's not finished yet, but I don't want to finish her because she's great to demonstrate all the different processes.
Okay.
And you can see on the back, there's free motion stitching and a lot of handwork. But you'll also see here, I might end up giving her a little
Neck lift.
a neck lift, but we're going to cut her out from the background of the canvas,
Okay.
all around the perimeter. And then, once you have your face cut out, do you have yours that we can look at?
Yeah.
Because you're at that point, I think.
I am exactly at that
All right.
point, and I'm stumped beyond
Okay.
stumped, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you can always go back in and add more layers later. Or you can cut this out as is. But what I've done with this girl,
That's what I was looking for. Yes. Here you've cut her out.
I've cut her out from the canvas. She's got free motion stitching on the back. And now we get to audition what we want to.
I love
Where's
it.
she going to be?
Love it.
She can be off, cropped, whatever.
Sky's the limit,
Yeah.
you know?
So that's what's fun about this.
So I got another one we have to see here, and then we have Mary Kay's. Now, have we looked at this one? I believe so.
Yeah, we saw those
Okay.
girls.
Let's show Mary Kay's. Mary Kay works with us at TQS. She is
This is her piece.
vital to
This
us.
is her second piece, by the way. She
Okay.
did a full-on, amazing piece that she gifted one to her friend. And this is her second one. Look, she's done the Capitol building for a hat.
She's in DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution.
There you go.
Right? And then this one.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. She's new. She's, I believe I've named her, oh yes, her name is Jane and Willow. If you look closely, Willow is in her hair.
I love that.
It's just great fun.
Okay, so what about this? You sent us this, didn't you, when we took your class?
For the online class, I shipped to the students probably 50 different pieces of painted fabric. And one of the things that's nice about painted fabric versus commercially used fabric is that the acrylic paint is embedded in the fibers, so when you cut it, it's going to fray less.
Now, do you sell these online?
I will, yes.
Okay.
I'm getting that going. But the kit comes with a lot of fabric.
I mean, are you
and-
doing a lot of online classes now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're switching.
That's how I did it, and it was fabulous because not only did you have this, you've got your own stash to play with, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think
I need
this.
to show you one more thing.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So since you and Mary Kay have been in the class, we now have the Wonky Sisters United Club. There are probably 150 people that would get this. They're just silly little, it's for a girl.
Oh, I'm a girl.
It could be on the back of the quilt. It's just silly fun.
I need it now.
It's kind
I
of like,
need it.
okay, then I'm getting mine too.
Oh, fun.
Mary Kay gets this one. This is for her. Anyway,
So coming up next, it's all about using ropes for your batting. Ropes, right?
absolutely, you'll see.
And that's pretty new for you, isn't it?
A couple years,
Yeah,
but yes.
super cool. We're
Yeah.
getting deeper in that onion. Stick around.
Hey everybody, let's dig a little deeper. And Libby, digging into that mind of yours for
Scary.
this is a little bit crazy because you said, this just came to me. It's like you didn't have an extra inspiration, it just came to you.
Yeah.
Let's revisit the rope quilt that you had at the beginning. The name of this again is?
This is Breaking the Mold.
Right.
And it had to be, when I was looking at the parameters for the exhibit, it had to be exactly 2 foot by 6 foot finished.
Okay.
But I knew that when we get to the construction of this, I knew that it was going to shrink in one direction only. So I couldn't just enlarge a figure. It had to be very elongated and stretched.
And I assume that you had to do a little bit of experimenting on the front end. I'll let you hold that one. Let
Okay,
me pull this
sure.
one out so we can see them side by side. Because this is the one you sort of practiced on?
Yeah,
I mean,
I had to do a full prototype just to learn the construction, the engineering of it, and to figure out how much distortion and how much
Shrinkage.
it was all a learning curve.
And let me explain to everybody, because we're using ropes in a horizontal fashion and they're getting stitched, that fabric is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But in
Yes.
this case, you ended up with a much taller piece than you needed. So you had to do some, so what did you learn? I guess that's the
Well,
bottom
I
question.
also I did learn that for this particular piece, and this was my first rope quilt, so I
Okay.
hadn't really refined a lot of it. But I straightened the arm, for instance, because I see that this was a really odd
Okay, yeah,
position.
angle, yeah, right.
Yeah, and the head you can see is almost a ball.
Right,
it needed
right,
to be
right.
much more oval. So it took a long time to learn how to do it, and
But you did it.
I figured
and
it
you,
out.
Well, and this was just the beginning of a journey, because I know the artist mind for sure, and that is whatever you do first, you're going to go, well, I could do it differently, and what if I do it this way, and what if I do it that way?
Yep.
So
What else
that's
can I do?
Absolutely. So I'm going to leave those here, and then
Good.
let's look at your example so people can get an idea of what this actually is doing.
the top layer of fabric, if it's a single layer of fabric or if it's many, many, many layers, will be not tacked down, but stitched down with a zipper foot with a rope in between each channel. Essentially, it creates these channels. And the rope is always in there. In other words, I'm not just sewing tunnels and threading the rope through. Yeah.
And we'll see that happen. But essentially, this is what, and I think this is a good visual to get us started. And on the next piece here, you're like, it's an oval, but what's it going to be?
Yeah, I want to make a circle. I was aiming for a circle, and again, every single time I make one of these, the math is different.
And I guess a little bit of that has to do with the thickness of the rope that you choose as well.
It's the thickness of the rope, it's how many layers. And for this little sample, I've used a lot of different layers of hand-painted, so kind of crusty painted fabrics. So already I might have 2 or 3 or 4 layers in some of these areas, but this is relatively simple.
Right, and you've done this just on a regular whole
plain-
foundation of white
Yeah,
fabric,
just
right?
white muslin or something.
Okay, all right. So on this one, what is the math for the rope that you're using? And I'm looking at this rope here. What is there math? I mean, is there at least a guesstimate?
There's a guesstimate now.
Okay.
After I've made a few, I can sort of predict that I'll lose about 1/3 of the length.
Okay.
So I elongated a circle, and I'm getting pretty close on this.
Okay.
But every time I stitch, I get a little better. Sometimes I want to enclose the rope very tightly. Other times I want to create gaps. So
Okay,
then it
so
throws
then
everything
it throws
off.
everything off.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the rope. You've got several samples over there. I want to see these and tell us about the differences and why you might use them or why you might not use them.
This was, I switched to jute rope for one piece that it was much more appropriate in it. And the rope was a vertical piece. This was hanging down from below, and this became kind of the roots.
Okay.
And
Well, and that reminds me, you have a quilt. What is the name of that quilt?
burn cycles.
Burn cycles. Is that the quilt you're talking about?
It is.
All right, so let's look at that because we don't have it here, but this is a big quilt. How tall is this?
8.5 feet. It's probably 8.5 feet tall, and it's
my
also
word.
freeform, and it's double-sided and probably 3 inches thick in places. It's enormous and very heavy.
And did you use all of these different ropes in there?
I didn't use the thickest, but I use a lot of the clothesline rope. This is just basic hardware store clothesline. And I'll use different thicknesses of things. And sometimes I'll even wrap columns of fabric in a twist
wow.
to add different dimension.
Okay. So have you ever used this super thick rope?
A couple times.
Couple times.
Yeah, and you can see that it would create a bigger bump.
Yeah, it
But
would.
I like having a challenge, and I
Well,
like the variety.
In the case of the one that you're working on today, you're having a uniform, I mean, the goal, I guess, is uniform rope size. But if somebody wanted to suddenly have a bigger hump, they could certainly put
Yeah.
it in and use it at any time.
Yep.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm excited to see how this works.
All right.
What is your setup for this?
I use a zipper foot,
Okay.
and that way I can take my next, first, one thing I cannot do is lay all the ropes down
Okay.
ahead of time and
All
stitch.
right,
You
that
have to
doesn't
do it
work.
one by one by one.
Okay.
I've got my top layer, and I've
And
got
you're,
something
again, you're
behind.
on this same canvas that you've been talking about, right?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
Home Depot drop cloth, but I
Okay.
could use anything that has a heft to it.
Okay.
It's going to be supported, all of this weight. And I'll take a piece that's longer than I need and squish it really tight up against the first, or the layer before it. And then, since we're working on a fairly small piece, I don't have to pin this. When I'm working on these massive pieces, I have to pin all the way along.
All right, and are you using straight pins?
Yeah,
I
straight
bet they're
pins.
getting bent a bit here and there.
They are.
But you're needing to pin on bigger ones. But today, yay, we don't have to, but that's a good piece of advice.
So let me show you how I do one row
Okay.
with the zipper foot. And what I'm aiming at in this particular piece is to have that rope really tucked in tight so that I can get a fairly uniform column.
Right.
So
right.
I'm gonna squish it with
and I
my
guess
fingers.
if it wasn't uniform, this edge might start turning
It
at an
starts
angle.
tweaking.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of that deliberately. We'll see that in a
Oh,
minute
okay.
too.
All right. That's
Yeah,
cool to
so
know.
let's see. Okay. So I'm lining it up.
And I'm going to get a little camera on here as well, just to have another little angle, if that's all right.
So I don't have pins in it today, and I'm just going to roll this top fabric up and make sure that I'm really getting a tight fit. And let's see if I lower the
And just hit the gas and it'll go.
Yeah, I'm not quite at the edge right now, but that's okay. We're going to continue. And I can squish as I go, and sometimes I'm pressing and pulling. And imagine this being a massive
Yeah,
piece.
some
They
of
are
them,
heavy,
you said
they're
8.5
balanced all
feet,
over
that's
me.
crazy.
Yeah. But this is a simple demo. So as I'm going, I'm checking the fit, rolling it under, squishing it with fingers, pulling.
Right, and I do see the manipulation. You can't just keep going. You got to stop, take a breath. You're pushing and pulling to put that fabric right into the crease. You're letting it bend over the rope so
I'm
that it's
also
going
looking-
almost down completely. Okay, what are you looking
I was just
at?
going to say, I'm also looking at, when I added these layers,
Right.
I can't predict when this little piece of frayed edge is going to pop up or be buried in a seam.
Sure.
You just get what you get.
Okay. Well, and I think that's part of the beauty.
Yeah, it is. So I'm just going to go all the way across this line, and then we'll see how it looks. I love the look of hand-painted fabrics in this, and that's one of the
I
things
do
that
too. I do too.
I love to do that.
Now you're a member of SAQA, right?
SAQA.
And you're in the upper echelon. What do you
It's
call
called
this?
Juried Artist Member.
Right.
Yeah, and there's some benefits to that too. It's really wonderful
That's
organization. So I'm going to cut this thread right there, I guess.
Yeah.
Magically take it out.
And honestly, I don't know that we can tell much of a difference from what you've already done because it all looks so very good.
Yeah.
And then you just keep
But we
working
just
your way
imagine this
across.
is going to come through. Now my math might have been off. I might end up with more of an oval. But
Okay.
it always changes.
I
So
think it's
I have
really-
something to show you though.
Okay.
With you in mind.
Oh no.
Okay. I know you love ravens.
Oh my God. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I wanted to create
Oh, wow.
something with you in mind. And
Oh wow. I love that. And look how you separated here to give these gaps that are in there. I love that.
so this was a real challenge because as you were already pointing out, you could predict that this was going to happen. That straight rectangular fabric, once I
Once they
start
kinda
doing
bending.
different things, it gets very wonky and it gets harder to control.
But I think that's part of the celebration of it because it keeps it kind of free and fluid. And I think
That's
it
what
would
I
look
love,
a little
yeah.
awkward if it got super, super straight.
Yeah.
I love it. And I like actually the way that you leave the ropes coming out to the end.
Yeah.
That is so really unique, and I love that. I mean, yes, I am a raven lunatic, everybody. I am. Let's take a look at a couple of more of your finished quilts because these all use the rope, and I
A
love this one.
lot of different construction techniques.
I want to hang it up, but I'll do it like this, as if we've just caught a big one, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, that's awesome.
Poking my nose in here.
Yeah, well, Alex, come look at these
Check
up
it out.
close, and look at all the handwork. You've got French knots. I mean, this is where I just want to look at the eye candy on this, but so is this a rope inside?
Yeah, and now I've gone to a lot of different construction techniques. So I've got
I got
Yeah,
it.
you
some
got
rope
that.
that's actually couched on top of the surface. and some put in the same way we just demonstrated with
So you
edge
could,
to
you can
edge to edge.
fabric wrap a rope and then hand couch it down as well to add the interest.
And then let's look at the back because it is fully backed.
Whoa.
It's designed to hang from the center of a room.
Oh, nice.
And there's
gosh,
a little
and
story
look-
on this. Do you want
Look
to
at
hear
those
the little
fishes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, this is all about when I was a little kid and fishing, and the goal was not to catch a fish. So we we dangled a string from the bridge in Connecticut, and we would put either mini marshmallows or chewed up chiclet gum
Okay.
or yellow cheese on the safety pin and very carefully close it so the fish wouldn't get hurt, dangle it down and kind of feed the fish.
And you fed the fish, but you didn't.
You never
didn't
caught
hurt
one?
them.
Never caught one.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
you're such a
Thank
softie.
God we didn't catch a fish.
Because then what do you do with it?
And then let's take a look at this because this, Alex, this
Oh,
is,
yes.
I mean, seriously.
Yes.
I mean, there's eye candy everywhere. I don't even know if we can show it all on camera, but look at the,
I know,
the
this
weaving.
and the French knots and...
It's just rich, isn't
Yeah.
it? All the
And
texture
look,
and
is
the
this
color.
cheesecloth?
Painted
Dyed?
cheesecloth.
Painted.
Yeah, everything I do is painted. Here's some of the drop cloth on top.
Wow.
Home Depot drop cloth and silk and used all remnant things.
This makes my heart sing.
What's going on here?
I think that's a piece of the fringe of something that I
That
wanted
just-
to project
just
out.
leave it
Here's some
there.
little bit of loops of
Let's
yarn
come over
that
here
poke
and look
through.
at this.
And some thread weaving, basically thread weaving, but using some heavier pieces. But that's all.
Wow.
And then look right as we get into here, big stitches and little, I mean, they're seed stitches. but
Layers
these-
of stitches.
Right.
Libby, do you...
Layers and layers. You did it again. We're
Right.
digging down.
So, Libby, do you try and sell your work after the fact or what?
I don't sell much right
Okay.
now. I'm holding on to most of the big work, my serious work.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the smaller pieces I do sell.
Yeah.
I do sell on my website some little pieces, but nothing
This
like
is
this yet.
spectacular.
And how much are you teaching?
I teach a lot. Well, of course, with COVID, we had to
It's
shift
been
to
stuff,
online.
yeah.
Many times a year, I'll say.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So people can still find you and still get you to come and share
Different
your
venues
stuff. Yeah.
across the country.
That's
I
awesome.
travel. Yeah.
Oh,
So
thank
you're
you.
getting on an airplane now.
I'm getting on an airplane with my, oh yeah, and I've got lots of luggage. I am a circus going through the terminal.
I know the feeling. I do. I absolutely do. Well, it's been great. Yeah, thank
Super
you so
fun.
much.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Thank you for starting with baby steps and just going down layer by layer.
Right.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's been fun to dig down into your brain.
It's a little scary in there, but I didn't let you too far in.
That's okay. That's
Little
all right.
layers.
Everybody, we hope that we've dug into your brain a little bit. And as always, remember, it is a new day.
Every day.
I just love the textures of it.